Video last May or so, middle of May, and it didn't air until probably September or October of this fall, I forget when. And those pictures you saw of Kevin's scar with his shirt off, they took those same pictures of me. So, I lived in fear for 6 months. My belly was going to be on ESPN. So you can imagine how pleased I was when they opted out of using those pictures. Seriously though, it's my pleasure to be here today. I've heard great things about the Millbrook program. Coach James, I know, has taken over the helm for the first year, and I've already hearing comments from folks at this thing tonight of the difference he's making already. The young men are all here in shirt and tie. I love that, guys. I appreciate that. Several of you guys have come up and introduced yourselves to me, and the way you carried yourselves at that dinner was very impressive. And I can tell you, as a coach, when we come to recruit you, we watch you from the second you get out of your car to the second you get back into your car. So those little things make a huge difference for us. There's good players everywhere, and if you have that character part and those intangibles, it can be the separator. So congratulations to Coach James and all the coaches here. We're hearing great things about your program, and I know you'll be somebody for us to keep our eye on here in the future. So good things are coming this way. So thanks for having me here tonight. If someone were to ask me to summarize, I don't have many notes, but I do have a couple notes I'll refer to along the way, so bear with me. But if someone were to ask me to summarize my goals for myself, for my 2 children, and for our 35 baseball players, who I also consider family and my children, in one sentence, and I do need to read this part, it would be that we set powerful examples of integrity, that we have total dedication to family, friends, and faith, that we make an effort to give back to our community, and I hear that Coach James has already instituted twice a week or twice a month. You guys are doing that already, so I appreciate that. That we have seriousness and purpose, which I'll get to in a minute, and that we hold ourselves to the highest ethical standard. And for me, to challenge ourselves to be that kind of person, we have 2 opportunities to do that most every day. And first opportunity I want to talk about is the opportunity to pursue your passion, whatever you're passionate about. Playing the flute, dance class, cooking, whatever it might be. In our case here with our young men, it's about being baseball players. That pursuit of passion and what they're passionate about is right now being a baseball player. And again, at some point that will transition into something else. But right now, when they're pursuing that passion, it's a fast-closing window of opportunity to pursue your passion. And I'm going to talk about baseball here, obviously, because it's a baseball event, but these principles apply certainly to whatever your passion is. But as far as baseball goes, you know, the one thing that's different about baseball than any other sport is that it's about work ethic, and it's about repetition. You see Major League Baseball players all the time that don't look any different than any one of us. I truly believe that if you're an NBA basketball player or you're an NFL football player, that the minute you were born, you either had that ability or you didn't. It's not that way for baseball players. Baseball players become baseball players through hard work and repetition. We had a player at the University of New Orleans that I love to talk about. His name is Johnny G. Vitella. Johnny G. Vitella, when we recruited him, was 5'8", 170 pounds. Ran a 7'2", 60, and was a second baseman. Nobody offered him a scholarship. He had a couple junior colleges that had contacted him about walking on. Nobody offered him a scholarship. Everybody in the area, I had just gotten the job at the University of New Orleans, everybody in the area is telling me about this kid, Johnny G. Vitella. You got to sign this kid, Johnny G. So I sent my assistant coaches out to see him play, and they were like, I don't see him. So I said, well, I'm going to go see him myself. And they're like, well, he's playing football. I said, well, I'll go watch him play football. So I went to a football game, and here's this 5'9", 170-pound kid playing middle linebacker at a pretty high level of football. And he was an animal on the football field. And everybody that he got close to, he tackled. If he got his hands on you, and he was around the football the whole game. So I called him after the game. I said, Johnny, I said, man, I love the way you play football. And he's like, yeah, but coach, but I'm a baseball player. And I said, I know. I said, we're going to get to that in a minute. Just be calm. I said, next week you guys are playing East St. John. They got that kid that's going to LSU. He said, yes, sir. He said he's an offensive lineman. He signed a scholarship to go to LSU. He goes, I asked my coach if I could line up against him. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I'm playing nose tackle next week, so I could line up right across from that guy. He goes, because that's what I want to do. And as soon as he said that, I said, Johnny, do you want to come to the University of New Orleans? I said, I've never seen you play baseball, but if you want to come to the University of New Orleans, I'll offer you a scholarship right now. And he said, yes, sir, I do very much. And we offered him $1,000. I had never seen him play baseball a day in my life, but I'd seen him play football, and I loved what he said on the phone. And it just resonated toughness to me. So we gave him $1,000. Johnny shows up as a freshman, and this is right after Hurricane Katrina. So I was living in a trailer right next to the field. My kids were in Michigan, and I'm living in a trailer that's attached to the clubhouse. And Johnny would knock on my door pretty much every night at 10 o'clock and say, Coach, can we go hit? Of course, I don't have any TV, so let's go. So I would go in there and I would throw to Johnny every night. And then every morning he would hit again. After class, he would hit again. Before practice, he would hit again. He'd hit during practice. He'd hit after practice. He'd hit at 10 o'clock at night. He hit 5 times a day. Okay? He worked on his speed, turned himself into an okay runner, turned himself into a 6'8", 6'9" runner. Never really got any better than that. The bat is what played. His freshman year, he hit about 12 home runs for us. You know, the first 3 games of the year, I batted him leadoff. By the 5th game of the year, he was hitting 4th for our team, who ended up winning the Sun Belt Conference Championship because of Johnny G. Vitale. I'll never forget a game against LSU. He was a freshman, and our program kind of hadn't quite arrived yet. We were really good the next 2 years. And we weren't quite ready to beat LSU. We beat them like a drum the following 2 years. But that year, we weren't quite there yet. We're playing in our home park in front of about 7,000 people. And we had back and forth game. It's a tie game in the 13th, and LSU hit a 2-run triple to go up 2 on us in the bottom of the, or top of the 13th, headed to the bottom of the 13th. So the first 2 guys get on base, and the LSU coach calls timeout, and he's going out to talk to his All-American closer. It was this kid that was throwing, you know, straight downhill about 92 miles. Well, let me back up, actually, that's not quite true. It was before the inning. So I was pulling the 3 guys in before the inning to talk to Johnny about, you know, if these 2 guys get on, to talk about a possible bunt situation. So Johnny grabs the first guy by the shirt. He grabs the second guy by the shirt. This is a junior and a senior. He's a freshman. It's like his 12th college game. He grabs the 2 guys and he pulls them in close and he goes, if you 2 guys get on base, I'm ending this game. And he takes them and he shoves them back against the fence. So I was like, I was just walking in to talk about bunting, and I was just like, that conversation was over. I was going to let Johnny hit. So they've got, LSU had this All-American closer I was telling you about, kid who was drafted high, threw about 96, 6'7", 6'8", straight downhill, really good. Ball, you know, one of those guys' ball looks like it's about that big when you face him. So first guy gets on, second guy pops up, and Johnny comes up and hits the first pitch he sees off the scoreboard to tie the game. So, point of the matter, Johnny talked it, he walked it, but he backed it up with his work ethic. You know, the reason he was that type of a person is because he worked at it. He never backed down. And the sport of baseball is like that. And if your passion is to play baseball, you guys all have that opportunity to be a Johnny G. Vitale, to play above your athletic ability, to play above your station. 3 years later, Johnny signed for $800,000. Kansas City Royals drafted him with the 3rd pick of the 2nd round. So he turned his $1,000 scholarship into $800,000. He started at second base for the Kansas City Royals this past year in the major leagues. Johnny's a Major League Baseball player, and if you had seen him when he was your age, you wouldn't have guessed he would even play in college. So point of the matter is, if your passion is baseball, I ask you this, I challenge you with this question: what are you willing to do to make it happen? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? I ask our players all the time, it's 10 o'clock at night, what are you going to do? Are you going to do something to make yourself a better baseball player? Are you going to go hit? We have our batting cages open 24 hours a day to our guys. Are you going to go hit? Are you going to make good decisions in the cafeteria? Are you going to get up early and eat breakfast before you go out? When you're in the weight room, are you going to put 100% into it? Are you going to challenge yourself in the weight room every single day? What are you willing to do to realize your dream? You've got to be willing to make sacrifices. There's not time to have a great social life, to be a great student, and to be a great baseball player. You've got to pick two of those things. So what are you willing to do? They say that your brain develops till you're 25 years old. That every drop of alcohol you drink, every time you get hit in the head, anything that you happen slows that development down. So what are you willing to do to play in professional baseball? We took our team to the Dominican Republic. How many of you guys want to play professional baseball? Raise your hand. Okay. Anybody have a guess on what percentage of professional baseball players are foreign born or from international countries? What percentage? Anybody have a guess? 40%. 40% of professional baseball players are foreign born. 50% of the rosters from this past year's World Series, San Francisco Giants, 50% of the roster from this past year's World Series, international players. All right? International players are taking over our game. And why? We have to ask ourselves why. And we saw firsthand in the Dominican Republic why. Those kids are working their tails off. Now again, maybe their motivation is a little different than ours. Their motivation is because the alternative is working in the sugarcane field. That's a pretty powerful motivation. That's their way off the island, so to speak. That's their way out of poverty. So maybe they're a little more hungry than we are. We get that. And they don't go to school very much. So they certainly have more time to dedicate it than we do. So we have to work smarter. We're not going to match the amount of time they spend on it, but we can match the intent with anything they can find laying around the beach. And they've got another group taking ground balls in the sand. We're doing this on the beach. You know, we have these $1 million facilities that we're going to, and we're paying people hundreds of dollars to train our kids. These kids are doing it for nothing at 7 a.m. in the morning because that's how they're going to do it. Our kids met, Robbie Cano came and talked to our team. And everybody knows who Robbie Cano is, right? Our kids were amazed at how big and strong he is. They were amazed. And you look at him on TV, he doesn't look like it, right? When you meet him in person, you know he's a Major League Baseball player. You shake Robbie Cano's hand, and he is strong from elbows to fingertips. And that's from that work. And that's what you guys can do. That's what Johnny Givatello was. From elbows to fingertips, he was strong. That's what baseball players are. If you're ever shaking a Major League Baseball player's hand, you know he's a Major League Baseball player because you feel that strength in his hands. And every one of us can work on that. You've got grips that you can carry with us. You've got a racquetball. It doesn't cost you any money to work on that hand strength. So anyway, the point of the matter is, what are you willing to do to pursue your passion? You guys need to make that decision in your lives. The second opportunity I think we have to be the people that we want to be is loosely related to this video that you just watched. And that's the opportunity to do the right thing. You know, people certainly have, and you heard a little bit in that video, people ask me all the time, you know, why did you do it? Why did you do it? And, you know, when I made the decision to get tested to see if I was a match, I didn't put any thought into that decision. It was me sitting in the doctor's office, listening to everything that Kevin Jordan had just been through, everything that he was about to go through, and looking at that young man and saying to myself, if he's got to wait on that donor list for 4 to 5 years for a kidney, his baseball career is over. His dream is over. His window is shut. When we talk about the window of opportunity, and I'll back up a little bit, we talk about an open, you know, it's a brief window. Your baseball opportunity it's a window and it's briefly open. And every time you do something to make yourself a better player, that window opens a little bit. And every time you take a day off, that window closes a little bit. And eventually it slams shut. Jason Martinez was my college roommate, and he's here in the stands today, and we both played together at Georgetown. And I think we both feel the same way about our college careers, quite honestly, that we didn't become the baseball players that we wanted to be. And my freshman year, I worked pretty hard at it. Jason and I both did. We hit almost every day because we didn't know we were going to play. We were freshmen. Our playing time was uncertain. So we worked hard and we earned spots in the starting, you know, in the starting lineup on opening day. And we both had good freshman year. Well, speaking for myself, I didn't ever work as hard again. My next 3 years, because I knew that I was hitting fourth no matter what. And that's my fault. It's not my coach's fault. It's Certainly not my parents' fault. That's my fault. That was a decision I made. I got caught up doing other things, and I have a lot of regret about that to this day, about that my playing career didn't end the way I wanted it to. And regret is a powerful thing, and it's something that you have to live with for the rest of your life. It's something you don't want to live with if you don't have to. So anyway, that's the pursuit of passion. But back to the doing the right thing, you know, sitting there with Kevin Jordan and hearing the doctor say that basically his dream of playing baseball was over, you know, had to help, right? It was the right thing to do. It was an opportunity to do the right thing, not an opportunity to get on ESPN or get any accolades for it. It was an opportunity to do the right thing. And we all have opportunities to do the right thing every day. And they're not necessarily big, grand gestures like this, but they're little things. I think most people don't get involved because they feel like they can't make a difference. And I'll just tell you a little story. It's an old fable that I've heard, and most of you guys have probably heard it, so I apologize if I'm beating a dead horse. But it's a story about this man. He's walking along the beach, and he comes out one morning and he sees thousands of dead starfish, thousands of starfish that got washed up on the shore. And they're sitting there, they're drying out. And they're all going to die if they don't get back into the water quickly. So he's walking along and he's picking up a starfish and he's throwing it back in the water. Takes another couple steps, picks up a starfish, throws it back in the water. And down at the other end of the beach, there's a man watching him do this. And he starts walking towards this man doing this. And the man that was watching this goes up to the man who's throwing a starfish every 3 feet into the water. And he says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, what are you doing? So if I don't throw these starfish back into the water, they're going to die. And he looks up and down the beach. He goes, there are thousands of starfish. He goes, you can't possibly make a difference. The guy kind of looks at him quizzically, you know, gives him a look like, you know, I don't understand really what you're saying. He bends down, he picks up another starfish, he throws it into the water. He turns to the guy and he says, "Made a difference to that one." So the point of the story is you might not know that the community service that you're out there doing, it might not seem like it's making a difference, but to someone it's making a difference. And it's that ripple effect that they talk about all the time. You make a difference to one person who makes a difference to another. We all have a chance to do the right thing every single day. And I think if we follow our passion, and we have purpose of passion, and we take our advantage of our opportunities to do the right thing by our friends and our family and in our faith, then we're going to end up being the people that we want to be, and we're not going to have any regrets. And it doesn't matter if you became a Major League Baseball player or not. It's the journey along the way that counts, that turns you into the man or the woman that you become. And it doesn't matter whether you make it. It's that you put the effort in. You won't have regret. I promise you, if you put in Johnny G. Vitello's work and you don't make it to the major leagues, you're not going to be like me, filled with regret. You're going to be a happy, not that I'm not happy, don't get me wrong. So anyway, I'll just close by saying I was reading a book the other day about the mental game of baseball, and the author, Brian Cain, talks about the 6 Ps. And this is a way, follow these 6 Ps, I think is a way, whether it's just normal life or baseball. And the first P says is the present moment. You got to be in the present, all right? So I'll focus 100% on the here and the now. Don't worry about yesterday's game. Don't worry about tomorrow's game. Focus in on the here and the now, this play. The title of his book is So What? Next Pitch. So if the umpire made a bad call, whatever it is, if somebody made an error behind you, so what? Next pitch. Focus on the here and now. 2, focus on the process. So present moment and process. Focus on what you can control. You can always control your attitude, you can always control your performance, and you can always control your effort. Every day, you can bring attitude, performance, and effort to the ballpark every single day. Number 3, positive mindset. Focus on what you're trying to do, not what you're not trying to do. And the point of the matter is focus on the positive part, don't try to avoid failure. One of the great things about Johnny G. Vitello is he had no fear of failure. Strike out 4 times, didn't matter. Came up the 5th time, he got the big hit. Didn't matter. He didn't focus on what he was not trying to do. He didn't focus on that he was not trying to strike out. It was always, I'm going to get the hit. So focus on what you're trying to do, not what you're not trying to do. Perspective. Enjoy the journey. Don't get caught up in the results. Preparation. This is a big one. Our guys are guilty of this too. Certainly, as you just heard, I was guilty of this, okay? You will not perform better in games than you did in practice. You won't. I'm tired of hearing our players tell me, they tell me all the time, oh, in the game, I'll do it in the game. No, you won't. Not if you're not doing it in practice. No, you won't. You know, yeah, there are gamers. I get that. Okay, there are guys that rise to the occasion. I get that. But if you're not doing it in practice, you're not going to do it in the games. And the last one is pride. And pride's not a light switch. The guy talks about light switch. Pride's not a light switch where you can turn pride off and you can turn pride on. Pride is something you carry with you every day or you don't carry with you every day. The last thing I'll add is a Joe DiMaggio story that I love to tell. And that's Joe DiMaggio, I forget what season it was, 56 I think. The Yankees are like 18 games up in the playoff race. They're going to make the playoffs. It's like 10 games to go in the season. The score's like 8-1, and Joe D's playing center field, and the ball gets hit over his head, and he makes a running catch, crashes into the wall, falls down, catches it, inning's over, comes limping in. You know, his teammates kind of, you know, come around him to help him off the field, and somebody in the dugout says, Joe, what are you doing? We have an 18-game lead. You know, we've got the playoffs a week away. What are you doing crashing into the wall? Just let that ball fall. And Joe D turns to him and he says, there might be somebody here who's never seen me play. And that's what you guys have to bring to the ballpark every day. Whether it's your practice, you know, you don't know which people in these stands, you know, you don't know if the college coach from Wake Forest has a college roommate that's playing against you. And he's at that game and he calls Tom Walter from Wake Forest or Mike Fox from UNC and says, man, they got this kid at Millbrook who plays the game the right way. He plays hard. You need to come and see him. You don't know. You never know who's out there. So don't lose any opportunities. Don't let that window shut one single bit. Keep that window open as much as you can. So God bless and thanks for having me tonight.